Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Masculine Mastery, the show where we talk about things that matter to men. This episode is time for me to be on the receiving end and turn the tables. None other than Mr. Disqualified Dads. Farook, welcome.
Yep, happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Dr. Asif. This is round 3, I think, now.
Round 3, and tables have turned. Now I'm the host, you're the guest.
Yeah, I'm not used to this.
And it's time for me to interrogate Britain's most wanted, apparently.
Like I said, failed father, failed husband, failed workman. I mean, list goes on.
But you know what? I've been following you for a few months and you've grown in popularity over the last few months. It's been great to see your journey. It's been great to see how a man from East London can have such resonance across the country. You're meeting me today, you're meeting another guy from Leicester. You've had guys on the podcast from all the way from Northeast. Mr. Rizwan, you've had people from London, you've had people like me from Sheffield. You've got an appeal now, which is across the UK. You're growing into a cult figure. Authorities can't stop you. We had to get the orange changed today because I was fearing for your safety.
Yes, exactly.
From the feminist brigade. But you made it in one piece. Thank you for coming. How are things?
Yeah, no, things are good. Alhamdulillah, things are good. It's been quite a journey, as you know. Obviously, we've spoken a lot off camera. And I've been going through this, as you know, for over 2 years. My journey effectively started, or like I like to say it now, I was unplugged from the Matrix March the 16th, 2022.
Right, okay. So almost 2 years ago, right?
It's been, almost 2 years. It's way of life now. This is how I live. So when I say way of life and unplugged, what people don't realize, or those that have not gone through this journey, it's hard for them to understand what I'm talking about, maybe what you're talking about, what some of the red pill talk about. Until you lose contact with your kids, you are taken out of your home, your bank accounts, frankly, frozen or violated, you have been disqualified from society automatically. So it's a disqualification out of life. Hence, that's why I created Disqualified Dads. As a father, as a man in this country, relationship breaks down, you are disqualified out of society.
So, it seems to be the prevailing narrative here that whenever a relationship breaks down, the man's at fault. And he has to then prove himself innocent. And for you, proving yourself innocent, taking 2 years. But that's 2 years away from society, away from a place of residence, away from, most importantly, your children. How's that been for you for the last 2 years?
I think as a parent, I'll use the word parent, so not father or mother, but as a parent, you can never imagine being separated from your child as a parent. And when you've spent time, say, in a long-term relationship, a marriage, 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, you've seen that child from a baby, you've raised it, you've seen them grow, those memories, those moments. You can never envisage them not being in your life. You can never imagine not seeing them. Now, what people don't realize is we live in like relative comfort here in the West, all the Western countries, but 10 men a day post-separation are committing suicide. Now, if we look at what's going on in other parts of the world and how terrifying and horrible these situations are, and we can't even imagine it really, So how is it that in this society we are surrounded by food, water, shelter, relative comfort, but people are making logical decisions to say, you know what?
Not worth it.
It's not worth it. I don't want to be here. Can you imagine the turmoil going on internally for someone to come to that conclusion in this so-called relative democracy?
Exactly.
And in our community, in the Muslim community, the only thing stopping this suicide epidemic affecting the Muslim community, because it is a big sin. Otherwise, I think it's just a matter of time before we hear of some young man unfortunately taking his own life. And only then I think maybe the community will wake up when they lose a son. That's what I'll say. And you got to understand that. You can never imagine losing your child. It's something unimaginable. Now, the excruciating pain that you go through on a daily cycle, we're thinking about your kids, their innocent little faces, then you think you've let them down. You go through the humiliation as a man to know that there's nothing you can do Your child has been taken away from you. You're scared for them. You want to protect them. And as a man, there's absolutely nothing you can do. So you're fighting those demons. You're fighting the pain itself of the lost contact. And it is a very difficult, and a lot of fathers unfortunately don't make it. They give up. They, you know, like you said, they get out of shape. They don't care. It's irrelevant. You know, when people then come out with the old classic line. And I think, I don't blame people because they don't know what to say. What do you say to someone like that? When they grow up, they'll come and see you, they'll find you, all of this. To a certain degree, and I don't want to be negative, but there is a fairy tale element to that. You know, parental alienation is very damaging. It can last a lifetime. So it's a very difficult road, very difficult road.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned their road. You're on the road a lot of the time. You're traveling up and down the country. And one of the things which people don't see the other side of is not only the custody of the children, the custody and access to assets that the woman invariably gets. And then we talk about women's aid, shelter for women. But you know how many spaces there are for men in the country to seek? There's less than 100, right?
Less, I would say you'd be lucky to find one.
Exactly.
You'd be lucky to find one. You'd be lucky to get a place. That's why I think 90% of homeless are men.
Oh, men, yeah.
This is no accident. This didn't happen by chance. You got to question, how did this happen?
Yeah, 90% of homeless are men. 75% of self-deletions are men. And only last week was November, right? Or literally 2 days ago.
Men's mental health.
Men's mental health month. Nobody talk about it. We talked about November. We know about prostate cancer, testicular cancer. But what about men's mental health? More men are dying under the age of 40 from self-deletion, from that S word I can't mention here.
Yes.
They are spending, you know, and again, these are doctors, engineers, lawyers. It's not limited to any demographic amongst men. These are logical people and they see no way out. And divorce hits them like a ton of bricks. Hits them. They have lost access and custody to their prized possession, which is their children. Okay? And depriving a man of children, and I see as a doctor on the other side, as many of my clients come to me, they are at the end of their tether. They are lacking hope, and it's hope that keeps the man alive. So in Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, he was a Holocaust survivor, Viktor Frankl. I think he lived to 99. He lived a very long life after the Holocaust, and he says in that very moving book, the Nazi prison guards were very mean to him. They were subjecting him to torture. He said it was only through hope he could forgive them. It was the hope of emancipation.
Yes.
And a lot of fathers particularly lose hope. They lose hope in what? They lose hope in the system. They lose hope in the system. They lose faith in the system. The system is inherently flawed and it inherently favors women. And this is manifest in women's shelter being 20 times, having 20 times the funding of men's shelters. This is abundantly clear in the fact that women get custody. I think you said in one of your podcasts, 70-80% of the time?
Yes. Okay, about the custody.
Custody. It's awarded majority of the time to the women, right?
No. 90% of the resident parents
is a mother
in UK are mothers. 10%, and these are facts. These are statistical facts of what the situation is now. 90% of resident parent mothers, 10% only fathers. There's a reason for that. And when you talk about, let's start with men's mental health and the self-deletion rates for men. Globally, men are self-deleting 4 times more than women. Yeah? Globally, yeah. In England alone, like I said, the statistics and the records show 10 a day, along with 3 additional caused by child maintenance services. Now, then add to that the 70% of the homeless we spoke about. How many of them are there post-separation, right? And the 10 a day that are self-deleting is post-separation deletions. So understand that. Men's mental health, I think, is just a buzzword. November, let's support the men in our life, this and that. There's no law and nothing backing up. It means absolutely nothing. I think it's just a buzzword, and what's the word I'm looking for? Lip service.
Yeah,
That's
lip
all it
service, and it's sound bites. We care about men, but reality, majority of homeless are men. Majority of post-separation self-deletions are men. Majority of those that are moved back with their parents after divorce are men.
Yes, it's hard. Yeah.
And so you've been through this last 2 years. You've not seen your children for almost 3 years now. And like, how have you been? What's keeping you going? I know you started Disqualified Dads. You've got a picture of your beautiful daughters on there. Is that your why?
Okay, let me try and articulate this the best way I can. So I find myself March the 16th, 2022. My relationship ends for various reasons, and I think a lot of relationships are ending because of this specific reason, cross-community and cultures, because as you know, I interview a lot of fathers, I speak to a lot of fathers, same old pattern, personality disorder, power, control, second generation trauma, all this sort of stuff. And there's an element of trying to just control, unfortunately, a man in a relationship. You have to toe the line, otherwise you're going to be miserable. It's as simple as. So for various reasons, my relationship came to an end. In my mind, I was thinking, whatever happens, once the dust settles, at least I will have my time with my children, interrupted, unsupervised. I can be myself with my kids. We can play and do stuff without this element of someone watching over you and indirectly controlling
1 hour
you.
limit. We go contact center.
Yeah, it's more subtle than that, but you know when you're conditioned and you know in the back of your mind, oh, I better not do this because I'll get an ear bashing or she'll kick off. It's subconscious, it's planted. And this is what is real coercive control. This is used in the family court against men all the time. But I think more men, and I'll say it straight, I think more men are coercively controlled than women, period. Regardless of how much the feminists argue this. I think it's in men's nature, you know, simple, straightforward guys. Try and keep their family happy, they toe the line.
Peace.
Yes, for peace, as we mentioned before, for the sake of peace. Now, once I entered the system, again, like I said, 41 years nearly, am I 41? Yeah, nearly 41, right? Knowing what we know about family law, we knew the system was biased against men, we know this, right? But until you enter the system, you don't realize how biased and broken and disastrous it is. And when I entered the system, so the relationship ends, you're already dealing with the emotional trauma of that. Next thing you know, it is 9 out of 10 times, I think every man knows at some point that if this relationship ends, I'm not going to see the kids for a prolonged period of time until things settle. It's going to be up and down, yeah? So then next thing I know, I didn't see the kids from March the 23rd onwards. Was it 23rd? Yeah, March the 20th, 2022. Last time I saw 2 of my daughters. My son, I saw him March the 16th, 2022. So let me try and get this in chronological order. The relationship ends March 16, 2022. That day I spent with my son, who was 3 years old at the time. That evening, when I come back home, and you got to understand, you don't know what's happening, you know, it's a serious thing. To give someone talaq is quite a serious, a heavy thing, unless you're a cold-hearted hustler, right? I don't know. It was a very emotional.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I was shaking when I was saying those words. It is very difficult, yeah.
Because you know, this is now irreconcilable. You can't you can't reconcile, and it's heavy for the man. Yeah, and you know, responsibility lies on the man, by the way, in Islam, to give talaq if the marriage is dissolved. So absolutely, men tremble. It's the biggest thing you could ever say in your life.
Look, I'm not going to play the big man. It was very difficult, and you got to understand, this decision wasn't taken lightly. We're talking 10 years. If anyone sort of might think, oh well, you know, you deserve it. You know, you ended it. You deserve it. This and that. Listen, 10 years I endured what I endured, right? Yeah, I know what I endured. I know what I went through, and I would have carried on. But what people don't,
for the kids, right?
I would have carried on for the kids, for the marriage, for the nikah, because I'm subconsciously, how can I put it? I'm conditioned to my upbringing and the generation I was brought up in, and marriage, nikah is seen. There's an element of conditioning that I have, like rightly or wrongly, and I would have fallen in line with. I did fall in line with that conditioning. Hence, I was in it for 10 years. Now, let's just go into why I ended it, yeah? Because there's always these questions. If I simplify it down to one word, disrespect. If you say to me, why did it come to an end? Regardless of the personality disorders that we've discussed previously, regardless of power and control, if I narrow it down to one word, which you may not be able to articulate at the time when you did it. But if it comes down to it now, look back in hindsight, what was the disrespect?
Yeah, exactly.
And that disrespect, if you are not respected, as we've said, by the in-laws, by effectively your partner indirectly, that you can only overlook that for so long.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, men crave respect more than they crave safety or love. Women crave safety, financial security, safety as a man, physical safety, etc. They've been conditioned to look for these traits in a man. Hence, in hypergamy, they look for a man who's bigger, stronger, taller, earns more than them. This is security, right?
Yes.
Rightly so.
Yes.
You've got daughters, you'd want, inshallah, their husbands to provide for them, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Be strong, not some weasel, you know?
No, absolutely,
you know? And so women desire safety. This is their inbuilt mechanism. Men desire respect and admiration. They want to be admired by their peers, but particularly at home. They want to be made to feel like they are the man. They are the dog's bollocks, so to speak. They are man worthy of respect. And when a man is disrespected, it hurts a man more than it hurts a woman. A woman is disrespectful, she can be hurt, you know, emotionally hurt. A man feels emasculated.
Yes.
Disrespecting a man is the same psychological, it elicits the same psychological response as accusing a chaste woman of cheating.
Exactly. Now, the thing is, I'll go one step further, yeah? You may not, let's say for argument's sake, let's say you don't respect me and I don't respect you. That's still neutral. That doesn't mean I'm disrespecting you. And this is what I'm saying. Let's say for example, there's someone out there, their wife doesn't respect him through her behavior. Not words, but through actions. That's the difference, yeah? So for example, she goes back to her mum and dad's on the weekend and she slags her husband off, his family off, yeah? That action in itself shows that there's a certain aspect of her husband and his family that she doesn't respect, yeah? Now, you may not respect someone, but when you cross over into disrespect now, that's a different thing. You are disrespecting someone. You're putting someone down. You're putting them down. You're putting your family down. It happens to be the father of your children, your husband. You cannot say in the same sentence, I love you, want to be with you for the rest of my life, but behind his back, you're back chatting him, you're putting his flaws out for the world to see, your family, your relatives and friends. And that goes into a disrespect. So you don't respect someone, one thing, man will carry on. I think a lot of men do carry on. For the sake of their children, they will carry on. I would have carried on, for the record, till the end, if I was just given a little bit of respect and a little bit of support and backing.
Exactly. So, and men often continue, and I said this in a previous episode, men will prefer misery, men will prefer certainty and misery than uncertainty, but potential of happiness. So they will continue in marriages, which are miserable. They'll continue in dead-end jobs, just for the certainty. Men like stability in that sense. If there's a chance of happiness and fulfillment, but there's also a chance you might not get it, men won't take that chance, by the way. Men, even if there's a small opening, they won't take it. They'll rather take the darkness, but they're certain of that darkness, they're certain of the misery. And you mentioned conditioning there, and conditioning, particularly in South Asian culture, where divorce is still a stigma, divorce is still stigmatized and it's frowned upon, is you stick it out in marriage, even if you feel emasculated and even if your mental health is suffering. And that's something which I talk a lot about in my podcast, male mental health. Men are supposed to suck it out. Men are supposed to stick with it. And particularly in the community, you stay in the marriage, not for the marriage or for the children, you stay in the marriage for the community. And,
yes.
And it's the same in marriages, wedding, sorry. They say in marriage, on a wedding day, it's a husband and wife getting married. But it's the community's wedding.
Yes.
It's not your wedding, by the way. It's the community's wedding.
Yeah.
It's the same in marriage, by the way. Marriage, it's not your marriage. It's seen as a
there is a external pressure. Yeah. See, with the Asian community around marriage and generally say marriage is a community thing, but there is that community pressure to get married, number one, at a certain age, or it has to be like this, and the pressure to stick it out. But when you're there is no support, advice, or guidance. No one talks about this. This is, you see what we're talking about now. This is the first in my lifetime that we talk about this stuff openly. Now, before this, this information wasn't there. You couldn't go and watch a podcast where you got this inside information. It was like a little club. Everyone kept quiet. And the problem is this, I get it. Those who are suffering, so like you said, let's go back to what you just said, yeah? Men will stick it out. They will stay in the darkness because there's certainty for their children, whatever it is. They will soldier it out. They will man their post. That's what men do, yeah? Now, you can do that if you are just in a miserable marriage, but your missus is logical. She's got no issues psychologically. So let's go back to personality disorder. So imagine now you're getting disrespected, and this is what happens to a lot of guys out there. They're getting disrespected. The disrespect is there on the back of the personality disorder, the borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder came from second generational trauma she picked up in her life, from her family, her environment, her upbringing, which is now landed on your lap. It's been given to you. So if you're dealing with disrespect, at the same time you're expected to be the loving husband, the perfect father, and like I said, whatever you do is wrong due to the personality disorder. Whatever you do is wrong.
Not good enough.
It all feeds into each other. So you can withstand the darkness, but you cannot withstand borderline person. You're not qualified.
Yeah.
Hence, if it doesn't end now, it'll end late. And if those in those relationships where it doesn't end, I know those men. I've seen them. They are a shell of the person they should have been. Men in their 50s, they're quiet, head down. They have no say in their life. They just plod along and survive. And those that are in it and that are still going, if you hang about long enough with someone with some sort of psychological disorder,
You'll get it.
It will affect your mental health. It will affect your ability to communicate, your ability to think. Those in those relationships with someone with a borderline personality disorder, it's effectively, and I speak to these guys, it's very hard to explain. It's like you're acting. You're not comfortable in your own skin. You're acting. You've got imposter syndrome all the time. You're not the person you should be. When you're not comfortable in your own skin, you cannot progress in life in any area.
Yeah, you're not being your authentic self.
You can't be. It's impossible, because when you're with that person, or even when you're not with them, you're living a lie. You're acting. You're effectively acting. That's what it is.
You're stepping on eggshells, tiptoeing on eggshells, essentially. And it's a very good point you made there. Second generational trauma. So you're competing against her upbringing.
Yes.
And you can't undo upbringing. You can't undo someone's
negative triggers.
Yeah, that's their preconditioned state that they came into marriage into. And so you're competing against her childhood experiences with men, perhaps her father, her uncle, her brothers, negative experiences. She's going to subconsciously take that into marriage, and you're not her therapist.
Exactly, and you're not qualified. Look, young man now in his 20s gets married to someone like this. I hear these cases all the time. Get married and these games start. And I'm not even saying these women are bad. I'm not saying they're bad or anything like that. They genuinely need therapy. They need help. They need to release these negative triggers and this preconditioning that they've seen at home or whatever it was, where their mum slaved in the kitchen and all of that sort of stuff. But the problem is as well, in our community, daughters and their mums are adding to the problem. Again, as we spoke about in the last podcast, right? Yeah, they're adding to that element of control. Let's take control. Keep your man like this, he'll keep you happy. They're looking out for their own. And instead of saying, look, she could be happy. He's not a bad bloke. He could be happy. Let's get behind him to help her. But instead, because of that generational approach to mental health, or accepting that one of your own's not 100% or something's not right, let's just cover it up, blame the other guy, blame the outsider. So it's a concoction of issues. Do you see what I'm saying? There's many issues. This is what I've said. Look, there's 3 types of marriage breakup, yeah? Boy meets girl, they fall in love, they're happy, they're married for 10 years, they have an argument over the years, I don't know, they've lost the spark, lost the chemistry, they fall out of love, they divorce, right? That's one type. Second, say marriage, you were introduced to someone through family. Over time, guess what? You started, you fell for each other over time, bit of chemistry, you loved each other. But due to domestic issues, as in just general petty arguments built up over time and got out of control one day and you separated. Then the third type of breakup, which what I'm trying to talk about more and more, because people assume that if you worked out, it could have worked. You could have worked for the rest of your life, it wouldn't have made any odds. You cannot deal with personality disorders. You're not qualified. Unless you're qualified to do that, or you're aware of these things, you stood no chance, number one, yeah? Number two, add to that, when the families get behind either of these situations, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Because people will just pull for their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimately. So it's these combining factors you got to look at. So if you've had a breakup now, you got to look at which category do you fall into. Did you guys just fall out of love? Did you guys just start doing your own thing? Was there underlying issues from day dot? So you have to address the core issue.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, instead of reconciling or having some sort of mediation, I've seen a lot of families, particularly on the girl side, widen the cracks.
Yes.
That increases the gulf. It drifts them further apart. And it's very much a us versus them mentality. Us, as in the girl side, her parents, versus the boy and his parents. No, you know, the family now is the man and the husband and their children. That's the family. His family and the girl's family are now they're second generation now. Not second generation, yeah. They are, second degree.
Yes.
The first degree is the man and the wife. But a lot of girls, particularly with daddy issues, they never leave their own family. So they're going back on the weekend, or even if they're not, they're speaking to them on WhatsApp every day, telling them, and you spoke about this in a viral TikTok video, telling them about the dynamics of the household. And they say never air your dirty laundry in public. You're doing that essentially because your parents, i.e. the girl's parents, are public now, aren't they? They're essentially still public because they're not part of your nuclear family.
That's a private relation, yeah, exactly.
So private, and it's actually in Islam as well. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he chastised the woman who disclosed private affairs. I'll give you an example, by the way, from the life story of Prophet Ibrahim. When he went, by the way, let's drink.
Yes, yeah? Let's have a drink, definitely.
Big story requires a drink.
Yeah, man, my lips are getting dry. I'm getting into it. Yeah, I'm warmed up now.
Murder your thirst. That's what it says. Right. So, Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, the father of all three faiths, right? Mm-hmm. Christianity, Judaism, Islam. One of the greatest prophets of God. Friend of God, Khalilullah. He was named the friend of God, So, he had two sons, right? Ismail and Isaac and Ishmael. Mm-hmm. Ishmael is the father of the Arabs. Isaac was the father of Jacob, Yaqub, and he was the father of the Israelites. Ishmael was the father of the Arabs. Okay, they're both Semitic people. Arabs and the Israelites are both Semitic people. The Arabs were in the Arab Peninsula. So Ibrahim visited Ishmael. He wasn't in. By this time, he hadn't seen him for many years. He was an old man. Ibrahim lived, I believe, he had Ishmael when he was 90. So he was, well in his hundreds perhaps, when he went to see Ishmael again. And his daughter-in-law didn't recognize him. So he came, he asked the daughter-in-law, where's your husband? She said he's gone out. And then he says, how are things? Have you heard this story before?
No, go on.
And then he said, how are things? Inquiring about his son. At that time, she didn't know who he was. And she said, things are tight. He's always out. We're low on money, etc. And he said, okay, when your husband comes back, tell him to change his doormat. Okay? So Ishmael came back. He said, something's changed in the house, because she had moved the doormat, right? He said, something's changed. I can tell someone's been in the house. Who was it? She said, an old man came. He was asking about you. I told him you're out. And he said, did he say anything? She said, yes. He told me to change our doormat. And Ishmael clocked on. He said, that was my father. And he told me to divorce you.
Wow.
And then this is a few years later, he came back, Ibrahim came back again. And he knocked on the door. And again, his new daughter-in-law answered. And he says, how are things? Or where's your husband? She said, my husband's out. Things are good. Alhamdulillah. Things are good. Okay? Same situation. Yeah. She said, alhamdulillah. He said, okay, when your husband comes back, tell him to keep his doormat.
Right.
So when Ishmael came back, same thing. He said, things have changed in the house. Someone has been in the house. She said, yes, an old man came and asking about you. And Ishmael said, did he say anything? He said, yes. He says, keep your doormat. And Ishmael says, that was my father again. He's told me to keep you. So do you get it?
Yeah, I get it. But okay, let me pick up on one of your points, right? So at the start you said that when people get involved with mediation, they unfortunately create a bigger wedge, yeah? Because they're effectively fighting the boy and his family, yeah?
Yeah.
You're talking about a mediation. I think they're fighting them from the start. That's the problem.
Us and them.
Yeah, I think that mentality, we're saying it like as an after effect. I think the fact that it got to that stage in a lot of cases, it's because it is us and them from the start. And in a lot of cases now, it seems to be the girl's side are constantly trying to enforce some sort of control or use strategy to ensure that their daughter lives like a princess, or I don't know what this fantasy is, that she's not slaving over the stove for the rest of her life, and this sort of mindset from these traditional parents, because that's what it was in that day and age, or maybe something
You're
like
trying
that.
to nip it in the bud.
Yeah.
It's something that doesn't even exist.
But that's challenging. So they're coming in with this challenging attitude. And this is where we have to strip it back to the core issues. At mediation, you're already in trouble. Yeah. If you're at mediation stage, again, you need sensible parties from both sides. And the problem is, it's very hard to find sensible, down-to-earth people who will not be biased in these conversations. It's very difficult, unfortunately. Secondly, if you've got to that stage, like I said, the lead up to that point, what caused it?
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's us and them, and this is what I'm noticing. It's this us and them mentality from day one. Before the wedding, they're trying to pull favor. They're trying to pull these sly angles. Let's talk about these wedding negotiations, for example.
Leveraging it. Do you want to get one over another? Do you want to get the better deal?
Yes. So when parents are talking about wedding, and this is what I've noticed from what I've seen in many, many families, and young men think, my mum and dad have got it covered. Now, unless your mum and dad are very worldly, very good at these tactics, negotiations, they've been involved in a lot of weddings, they're from a confident family like that, you may navigate through it with ease, right, for example. But if your parents are seen as down to earth, simple, trying to abide by Islam, no bravado, no giving it the large, the down to earth family. In these negotiations, in order to be polite and not, like I said, it's a sub-language that they speak in, yeah? They don't talk directly. You know how it is in the community. It's sub-communication. It's all indirect. And you almost feel awkward to challenge it at times. And in these things, they've already gauged that these lot are easy. We'll walk over them. So think about this. Someone's come to, the boy's going to see the girl. Girl's mum and dad are talking to the boy's mum and dad. They've seen that boy's mum and dad are quite easy going, down to earth. They'll drop a little one-liner in indirectly. Now, there's some people by nature, if they feel challenged, they'll automatically pull it up on the spot. That will set the masculine balance. Let's put it another way. That will set that masculine position of, look, we can't just pull the wool over these people's eyes, or we can't push them back too far, yeah? You meet somewhere in the middle, or you have the adult conversation back and forth. This is how we roll. This is how we operate, yeah? But when a family is down to earth, seen as, again, let's say you're not from a rich family, you ain't got businesses, you're just a down to earth family, right? You come across too laid back, and you nod along, and you don't pull up these little cues that you notice. You don't dive in because you feel it's a bit awkward. You're in someone's house, you're eating, they make you feel loved.
Yeah, of course.
If you don't pull it up, they've already mapped you out, and that's what people need to take note of. They've mapped you out there. You're easygoing, and if you take the back foot, guess what? Going forward in that power dynamics of these relationships, these in-law relationships, you will always be on the back foot.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned in the last podcast. So the son-in-law, you're not happy, you need to politely, respectfully air your view or your opinion or your position. You have to take on that masculine frame. That is the reality. Because you'll always be on the back foot otherwise. Now, the nice guy is seen as the weak guy. Remember that. Niceness is not necessarily seen as niceness in the community. It will be seen as weakness.
Yeah. Exactly. And I always say, be a good guy. Be a virtuous, honest, hardworking, honourable, and generous guy. Be all of them, not the nice guy. The nice guy is seen as a pushover, particularly if you're the nice son-in-law. They will do everything. They will bend the rules.
Railroaded. You'll be railroaded.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. How do you be all of them without being the vulnerable guy?
Good question. Vulnerable as in?
Look, you can't be look, there's an element of, if you're the nice guy, like I said, be the nice guy. Look, number one, let's strip it back. Yes, what do you say? Be the nice guy, the hard-working guy. Be the honorable. I accept all of that. The fact is this now, yeah. Let's take it from a community perspective, yeah. The hard-working guy. Do we even respect hard-working people as a community? Do we respect a guy who works on the tools? In our community alone, back when I was looking to get married, when people found out I was an electrician, it was seen as, well, we're looking for someone with a degree. I did an 8-year apprenticeship. I mean, that's equivalent to a degree, right, as far as I'm concerned. But it's not respected. So if a guy, unless he's a lawyer, I mean, it's all right for you, you're a doctor, you're all right, you're in that top tier. But unless you're rolling, unless you got businesses, or unless you got some form of major clout, you're 25. I mean, look, let's put it another way. 25-year-old now, I mean, it takes 10 years to become a doctor, So unless you're from a well-to-do family, like a well-off family, you've had to sponsor your studying, your training for 8 years, you might come out from your training in debt. Now you're educated, you've got a degree, you've shown work ethic, you've shown you've got brains, and you're going to save lives potentially. Look at the honor in that. This man's going to be saving lives, But what do we ask for, especially up north here? What do they ask for before the wedding? Yeah, but has he got a house?
Exactly.
Has he got a salary? Has he got this? Nah, man, he's just come out of medical school. He's in debt. Like, what's the problem? But why are we not looking at his character? Is that hard-working guy respect? Do they respect the fact that this man studied for 10 years?
They don't.
Has he got a house? Has he got a car? Has he got this?
It's the completely wrong criterion. And in particularly in South Asian culture, a house now has become a prerequisite before getting married. And by the way, I fell into that trap as well. A house, getting a mortgage, it's a cardinal sin, by the way. It's a big sin.
Interesting.
It's a huge sin,
Maybe.
But we're completely neglecting Islam. When it comes to the marriage, by the way, everyone's happy except Allah. Free mixing, girls not wearing hijab, music on, missing prayer times, free mixing. Everyone's happy except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've gone into this, particularly in our culture, South Asian. I always say, the West Africans and North Africans have done it the right way. They've got a beautiful mix. They mix in Islam into culture. Okay, so their culture is seamless.
Right.
It's seamless. We
mix culture into Islam.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difference.
We mix culture into Islam. So we Asianify Islam, whereas they Islamify their culture in the Maghreb, in West Africa. Beautiful. Islam is apparent everywhere. The way the women dress, the way the men talk, the way they behave, the way marriages are conducted. In Egypt, for instance, girls are married at 16 to 18. They're married young. We follow the Bollywood trap. We infuse culture into Islam. So anything that enters Islam pollutes Islam. Anything that Islam enters beautifies it. So the West Africans, the North Africans, they put Islam in the culture and it beautifies the culture. Whereas we've got Islam there, we put the culture on top of it and Islam gets polluted.
See, add to that, I think, look, as young men ourselves and the generations younger than us now coming up, I think it might be easy for the generations coming up because the knowledge is more widely available. These conversations are happening more openly, right? And a lot of marriages I go to now, there is a lot more Islamic than they were back in 90s. This coming back.
Tide is turning.
Yeah, so I forgot the point. I've lost my rhythm now.
More Islam now.
Yeah, so there's more Islam coming, but we are fighting effectively. You understand? Generational traditions and cultures. We are fighting traditions of culture and generations that are breaking now. We've reached a certain point in life and they're breaking now. So even we are conditioned to a certain degree that we have to fight a certain conditioning that we have. But it's only coming about now. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So essentially, you're trying to undo 3 generations of trauma in half a generation.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes.
And we need to make sure the next generation, our kids, they don't take the baggage that we had into marriage for their marriages. And we need to Islamify marriages, not culturally pollute marriages. And that's what we're doing. We've got this Bollywood complex where it's an unwritten rule that the mother-in-law from the boy's side is going to be evil. We've got an unwritten rule that
the subconscious conditioning that we have, but the thing is, I think it'll be worse than that. So you're saying we need to break it for the next generation, say our children. I think I think we've got a bigger problem now. Look, the thing I say this with Bollywood, and this is how I use Bollywood to my advantage when I had, when I was with my kids now, because we've got this other very powerful narrative coming to try and show our kids these different ideas and ideologies, Bollywood was a good tool to use with your kids, I think. So a little drama or an Indian drama film going on, because what is Bollywood? Boy meets girl, they get married, live happily ever after. Not a bad ideology as a baseline programming, yeah, because of what's coming from these other ideologies, yeah. Boy meets girl, live happily ever after, have kids. Not a bad thing, use it. But because of these generational issues, for example, when our parents came over, they lived in one house, they had to chip in, mother-in-laws were in charge of the women effectively, and let's assume men were in charge of the men of the household, and it was a different time and an era. That was what was required and suited to that time and era, and it's those people, that culture, those families that have built, and credit to them for all the good stuff they've done as well. The mosques they've built, the schools, the education, Islam that we have is because of the work they did. So credit to that generation.
First generation.
Yeah, so you can't knock what they've done. They've achieved a hell of a lot. Now, they only know what they know, their culture, their upbringing, what it was back home in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Africa, wherever. They only know that. And even our mums, grandmas, that's what they knew. That was the accepted culture of the time. But what's happened now is, mum has passed, they're concerned for their daughters now. Obviously, Asian people are generally still very much still in touch with their culture, even though times have changed. The home dynamics have changed, the family dynamics have changed, and they should change for the better. I'm not even against that, yeah? So when people, because what it is, when we have these conversations, there'll be sisters assuming that, guess what? These guys want it like where their wife just does all the stuff at home, does all the domestics, looks after your mum and dad and all that sort of stuff, yeah? It's not like that anymore. Dynamics are not like that anymore. Times have moved on. But it's like they've come into these marriages with that preperception of, we don't want to fall into that trap. That has to have come from their mums and dads. They're controlling their narrative. So I would say if a girl and a guy, if they're mature enough together and say, listen, I know what your mum and dad like. I know what my mum and dad's like. But we need to be good together and counter this. But I think they're just battling, it's subconsciously built in, and you can't battle that. It's very difficult.
You can't undo 30 years of conditioning in marriage. And you mentioned therapy at the beginning of this podcast. Therapy is important. Like in places like Malaysia, it's actually compulsory. Before you have a legal marriage, it's compulsory to have premarital counseling for the bride and groom to understand female nature and for her to understand male nature. That fundamentally we are different. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, the man is not like the female. We are different in our nature, in our inherent disposition, DNA, our tendencies, our behavioral patterns and traits. So we are so different. So understanding that is vitally important. What I'm finding now is, from a female point of view, we're having mummy's girls, they talk about mummy's boys, but we're having mummy's girls who want all the privileges their mother had.
Princess syndrome,
Princess syndrome, exactly. All the privileges their mother had without the responsibilities.
Without any of the other responsibilities. They still want to come with the traditional ideology that I'm for that. You provide, pay for everything, no problem. But I'll work, what I earn is mine, I won't chip in for nothing. They're aggressive. Look, they come in with this aggressive attitude. Let me address your original point before I forget, because I'll go off into something else, right, yeah? So the children, future, we got to change it for our kids. I think the situation's a lot more bleak for our kids now, because look, 80%, I think they said, of Muslim marriages, Asian marriages, Muslim marriages are headed towards divorce. I think 60 to 70% are getting divorced. Yeah?
So this is a good point, by the way, because a lot of people ask me, by the way, about this, because I quoted your video, and it was Sheikh, what's his name? Israr?
Yeah, I know you're talking about his name.
Yeah,
but I know,
the guy from London, right?
Yes, that's right.
Wow, because obviously that's only, you don't get the full episode out yet, is it, of that
it's
one?
It's out, yeah. The Sheikh, the guy in West, the guys having a Sheikh, the one that said that 70% are initiated by women.
Yeah, 70%
in the Muslim community.
Yeah. So, but what about the gross statistics? So, how many marriages in the Muslim community now? Because we can't rely on British civil registry figures, because obviously not some marriages aren't registered. And I know people who have had talaq but not legal dissolution. So we can't rely on registry figures. So what did he say from his experience? What is the gross percentage?
70% women initiating.
No, not initiating. What's the gross percentage of marriages being dissolved?
If I remember correctly, top of my head, 70% are headed for Muslim marriages. 70% are divorce. 70% divorce rate. That's the word. There's a 70% divorce rate currently. Yeah. So now think about that for a second, right there. Yeah.
Is it really worth it then? You ask.
No, but even before that. So let's address the original point. If 70% divorce rate now, yeah. Sisters initiated divorce in majority of the cases now, yeah? When we're worried about breaking the trauma for the children, this in a 10, 15 years time, they're not just carrying that trauma, they'll be carrying the trauma of a broken home.
Yes, exactly.
We know what the statistics say about broken homes. Single mother homes. Let's not even put it single mother or father. Single parent homes, we know statistically those children are a lot worse off. Their chances on everything are reduced drastically. Yep. Now, so we've just talked about all the trauma, the cultural trauma, from migration. Add to that the generational trauma. Add to that now this trauma of father being ejected out of their lives.
Yeah.
What do you think they're up against? What are those kids going to do? We've just added another major trauma. Now let's look at other communities and cultures. Just the trauma of not having, I won't even say mothers of, just one parent present. And in 90% of cases, it does happen to be father not in the picture. Just that alone is enough to reduce someone's chances. Add to that all these other traumas.
Yeah.
Add to that now these other ideologies that are being fed. If a kid's already damaged emotionally, psychologically, because their father is not in their lives, what makes you think they'll even forget these traumas? What makes you think that when they get to 16 they'll think, well, do I want part of this religion? Yeah, my mum and her family were promoting it, but I don't even have a dad, so who cares?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So what chance have these kids got?
Yeah.
And I want to put it out there for everyone watching, everyone out there to know this now, yeah? Do we not owe a service to these kids? Everyone knows someone who split up. Everyone must know someone. They must know a sister who's got kids, but their dad doesn't see those kids. Guaranteed, but he was abusive. This is a legit case because it's my cousin, my relative, sister. You owe those kids. Either you're an uncle, aunt, grandparent. You owe those children, and tomorrow you'll have to face them when they grow up. Yeah. And if they go off the rails and something happens to those kids, you are responsible. We as a community have allowed this. Yeah. Let me ask you something, yeah? The Palestinian marches now, yeah? I've been on a couple of marches. You see the amount of people that have come out. What is going on in Palestine? What have said? Children are being killed. We cannot sit and watch children being destroyed like this, yeah? Wiped out. They're mourning. We are mourning losses of our children every single day here. Our father can't go up the road and see his kid here. Yeah. Who cares? Like I said, fathers are willing to end it here now. Understand the pain and turmoil that in this comfort, if we're prepared to end it, yeah? But we're here standing up for those kids there.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone knows a kid here who won't see one of their parents. Yeah. Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't they people stepping up? Why aren't these so-called sensible family members, elders stepping in? Yeah. Because guess what? Your ego and pride take over. And this is what I'm saying about Islam, right? Yeah. I know loads of these people practicing people, Hajj, Umrah. They have beards, hats, kids are hafiz, imams,
the woman wears
all of this sort of stuff. Yeah. Now, I can pray, let me put it another way, yeah? I can pray namaz now, yeah? So I prayed namaz today, we prayed namaz earlier. That's what you prayed between you and Allah, yeah? You're happy to do it, inshallah, alhamdulillah, great, yeah? But problem is, when something afflicts us in our personal affairs, Islam's put aside. That's where you will be tested. Your Islam will be tested in your personal affairs. How you behaved in your personal affairs.
Exactly.
Not, swallow your anger, swallow your pride. Projecting, telling other people. That's what the Asian community is good at. Project it onto other people, tell other people. When you're in the hot seat, the whole thing goes out the window. Who cares?
Because Islam is not a religion, it's a deen. And deen means it encapsulates every single matter. Your financial life, your social life, in
business,
etiquette, in transactions. So these people, they don't violate God's laws, but they're violating His own creation. And that, in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is still a sin.
Is that not a hypocrite?
Exactly.
What do they say? You breaking ties of kinship.
It's one of the biggest sins.
What is the biggest kinship you can have? Father and son, father and daughter, father and child, mother and child. But we are happy to sit back and break that, aren't we? As a community, as a whole. People are happy to engage in this.
You know, because we put this question to a Maulana, didn't we, a few weeks ago at the conference in Birmingham.
Yes.
And shout out to Brother Ahmed and Khalid and Ali Dawa.
MFSF, yeah, shout out to MFSF.
Doing some great work, raising awareness, campaigns, court paper preparations, and just raising awareness, McKinsey friends, workshops, even coaching, lots of counselling they're doing as well, marital mediation.
They're doing great work.
Great work.
Reach out to them, if you need help and support.
MFSF,
definitely.
Muslim Father Support Forum. Great bunch of brothers. So at their inaugural conference a few months ago, right, we posed this question to an Islamic scholar. What is the verdict? What is the sin, rather, for someone breaking the ties of kinship? Man and woman. Usually 90% of the time it's the woman, because custody goes to the woman. Okay? And what did Maulana Saab say? Maulana Didar from Kent. He had a video actually going viral talking about you can't pick and choose Islam, the law of the land.
I remember that. Yes.
So he says a lot of these sisters are having VIP tickets to the hellfire. They're actually having VIP tickets, fast track, through breaking ties of kinship. They're not realizing it because they're saying, yeah, we're following the law of the land. But the law of the land says a lot of things which are not with Islam. Okay, the law of the land says we're not drinking, but the law of the land says you can drink and whatever, you can sell alcohol. We can't do that. You don't follow the law of the land in things which are against Islam. You use Islam, and then the law of the land, by the way, allows freedom of religious expression, by the way. We are allowed to have masjids. We are allowed to have Sharia courts.
Yes.
If you're allowed to have Sharia courts, why you follow, Jewish people have their own courts, we have our own courts.
Yes, I rate them how they operate.
How they operate in a wonderful way,
They're
preserving their faith with their money lending amongst each other.
They're preserving their faith by preserving their family unit.
Absolutely.
Ties of kinship.
Ties of kinship. And we have been infiltrated with liberalism, and it's diluting Islamic identity.
That's the word. It's done subtle. It's been diluted in such a subtle way that we never realised it was happening till now. Till all the fallout with all of this now, with it now coming out into the public space. The fact that we're having this conversation now.
3 years ago, what happened?
This conversation, I reckon you could go online anywhere. You won't get a conversation like this anywhere now. 2-3 years ago, it just wouldn't be. At best, if you're lucky, 5 years ago, non-existent, none heard of, not talked about. It was a taboo subject. It's all hidden, embarrassing, humiliating, tucked under the carpet. Guys have gone off, just moved on with their life and just disappeared. And the fact that we're talking about this now is good. But let's go back to what you said, yeah? Like I said, these are practicing families.
Mm-hmm.
People are happy to project Islam, show the world they are practicing. Maybe they genuinely are practicing, but if you're happy to sideline it in your personal affairs, your moment of affliction, your moment of test, then you failed.
Yeah.
You have shown that you are a hypocrite as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
And we talk about halal, haram. When it comes to money and
food,
taking the husband's property, which is categorically what it says in it's black and white. That is completely ignored. There is no interest in it whatsoever. And to make it look, even putting all that aside, to rob a child of their childhood. Yes, look, I understand. Yeah, we're adult enough to know that if a relationship breaks up, one party's angry at the other, both parties are angry at each other, both are blaming each other, both want to hurt each other. Fine, no problem. Hurt each other. Why are you hurting these kids?
Yeah, exactly.
Are these children not innocent?
Yeah.
So even the extended family that are supporting the women that are engaging us, do they not have any love for these children?
Yeah.
Why are you robbing these children of their childhood, their loved ones, their loving father? Why are you robbing them of their father? And add to that, their whole extended bloodline.
Yeah.
Do they not have a blood right? Are they not innocent?
Exactly.
And this is what it comes down to, just basic humanity. Don't rob these children. I get it, you want to hurt the husband, yeah? 4 or 5 months, he ain't seen his kids. He suffered enough. Listen, but your child is suffering that loss. The child is suffering that mourning, and the damage you will see a generation later, 10, 15 years from now, what this community looks like. I mean, you tell me, what do you think this community looks like in 10, 15 years time with the fallout from all of these family breakdowns? And look, families do break down, it happens, but denying contact with the other parent, the non-resident parent, the father. What do you think is going to happen to those families as a general rule overall? Because other communities have had this. They failed. They've had problems. Last 40 years, other communities have been decimated.
Yeah, exactly.
What kept us together was our religion, our community, and our family values. And the fact that, like I said, look, I keep mentioning this, yeah? Back in the day, say my granddad's day, I'll say it like this. If a girl phoned her mum and dad, started bitching about her husband and his family, and I've had enough, I'm walking out, 9 out of 10 times, mum and dad would say, you can do whatever you like, don't come here. You're a grown woman, that's your home, you manage your business, handle your business sort of thing, basically, yeah? That was enough for her to think, well, flipping out, well, they're not backing me, so fine. These days, mum and dad tell him, yeah, leave him, get out of here, don't worry, screw him, he's no good, you can do better. He was no good anyway, I mean, he didn't earn big money anyway. Whatever it is, this pathetic behaviour, those sensible elders are gone. Hence, we now have this situation here. Now with this situation here, what's going to happen on that next generation?
It's going to get worse.
I'm scared.
So, 50% was the last generation. Now it's 70%. Yeah, that's what you said, right? Then it's going to be 90%. Divorce rate, and then only 1 in 10 marriages are going to survive. It's against the odds. So you're right. It's going to spiral down, negative cycle, because we've got a lot of these isms now attacking the family structure. And now you're right. Like even when we were growing up, right, a woman going back to her father's house as a divorcee, yes, he will accept her, but before he'll try to mediate,
he'll put her off. He will put her off. But the thing is, when you encourage
it's like a badge of honor.
When your own mum and dad or your own people or your circles
and incentivize it as well.
Yeah, so you're incentivized by the government anyway, right? And every girl has like, I hate to say it, but that bitch best friend, right? Yeah, that's in her rear, yeah.
Single one.
The divorced bitch best friend. Yeah. It's deep down, just really jealous. You got a house, you got a husband, and all that sort of stuff. But they rile you up as well. You listen to them. Mum and dad, and this is where it goes back to what we said now, because look, it's a multitude of issues. If you are from that nice down to earth family, in this day and age, compared to today's standards, you're not seen as a high value man. You're just a normal working man, but you're a decent guy, yeah? Looked down upon, you're not flash to cash, but you can make a reasonable living, you can provide a house. You're just a normal working guy. You are not respected. They're already looking down at you. Hence, they will feed. Like, let me give you an example. I know this one client, for example, This father-in-law, with one of his son-in-laws, they come from a well-to-do family. They got money, finances, fame. They got reputation. Big business. Well-known family. Well-known name in the community. They won't challenge him, or they'll challenge that son-in-law only so far because he's drawn the boundary line. They know not to push him. But when the other son-in-law, for example, if he's seen as a nice guy, they will push him further. So it goes back to
a certain frame.
Yeah, so it goes back. All of these issues are tied in. But then I think potentially maybe this goes back to the framing. If you take control of the frame from day one, and I say this to all young men who are not married, you have to take control of the frame. And look, sitting here now saying it's easy, I'm 41, I've seen a lot here, been through a lot now, Even when I was going through that, you think, well, it's elders, respect. You got to become a man. You have to take the frame,
step up
and take charge. You can be nice, but you still got to stand your ground, like with any human interaction. Same with the in-laws, same with the community, same with whoever you're sitting in front of. Do not give up the frame for the sake of it. If there's an imam there, he's talking about Islam, yes, give him the frame because he's more knowledgeable. He's talking about Islam, be respectful in that sense. But if you're involved in this negotiation, you're involved in this talk, this is the rest of your life, you need to take control of the frame. Because that will then, you got to understand, that lost respect will only snowball into something worse.
Cool. No, absolutely.
Do you see what I'm saying? So all of these issues coincide. So let's say everything we talked about, say the mum and dad getting behind the princess syndrome, this and that.
Encouraging it.
They will only encourage it because they know they can get away with it. it comes back to power dynamics. I think I sometimes think about all of this stuff, yeah. Not like you said, so not the cure, but the prevention. You have to take charge. You have to take control of the frame. In order to take control of the frame, you have to become a man. In order to become a man, you have to do certain things. Now, if you're in your 20s now, like you say, get in shape if you can. Best shape you can be. Best education. I can look back now, I've never read enough books. I didn't do enough studying. I should have studied more. I should have learned more things. Simple as. I should have spent more time in these adult engagements in the community just in order to observe and learn the sub-language, yeah? Because we get lost in the whole elders respect, just stay quiet.
Just be quiet and just put your head down.
Now, so with that whole scenario, so before we get to mediation, breakdown, you've lost your kids, all of that, if you'd have taken the frame from day one, is it possible then it doesn't snowball and you don't see the end result being what we're talking about now?
Of course. Yeah, of course it is, because then the frame's in your control and you become the shepherd of the family, like you're instructed to become the driving force of the family. The man leads, the woman follows, the children follow her. It's essentially a dynamic where the man is in charge. But you've started your marriage on the back foot. You're not in charge. Her father's in charge, or her mother's in charge.
Her mother's in charge. The chances are her mother's. I was watching a podcast the other day, right? I'm going to mention this. I'm going to do a reaction video on this now, yeah? It was Ali Dawa's bitter truth. Yeah. So
this is our bitter truth.
Yeah, listen, this is the bitter truth coming now. We're taking over, yeah? Now, what the whole panel was saying, when the panel were talking, they were all Bangladeshis, right? It's all Bengali families,
yeah, the one 2 days ago.
2 days ago. And the only thing I took away from all of that now, yeah? Every single person, when they talked about their situation, marriage, and how they were coerced and pressured, the whole usual community stuff, mum said go marry here, there. Again, every single one, my mum, my mum, my mum. Now, what I was going to say in my reaction video is, I sat back and observed it all, and I said, yeah, I agree, I understand all of your points, I accept it, except one guy whose father, recently passed away, so, may Allah give his father shifa.
I mean.
So, that fella, like I said, his father died recently, but he was still in his mid-20s, right, yeah? Not one of them mentioned my dad. Where's your dad in all of this? What say does he have? Is this the problem? So if we go back now, do we strip it back now, yeah? In the Asian community, is it true that, unfortunately, even one generation above, women rule the households? Women seem to have the upper hand. Dad's just happy to take a back seat, do his thing. Maybe he's just busy working, doing his thing. So it might be. Not one of them mentioned their dad. Where's the dad? And what does Islam say? A man is the leader of the house. Is it a problem now because they never took that frame there? Yeah. Hence, this is the knock-on effect. Or they're conditioned maybe to be in the same way of frame of thinking.
Let's be honest.
As far as marriage is concerned.
And we mentioned this in our podcast we did in London a few months ago. The men are not men anymore. And it's getting less and less. This generation is getting weaker and weaker. And the first generation, and I think this has been the case for many generations, because it's a very Indian subculture thing. It's not from Islam. This is from subcontinent where the woman, like anti-Sima matchmaker, women take, when it comes to marital matters.
Yes, okay, they do take.
But in Islam, it's the man, by the way. And I've spoken to so many of my friends. They're getting to know girls, and they're like, my mum's speaking to her mum. Like literally all the time, my mum's speaking to her mum, and we're going to arrange a meetup. It should be the father.
No, okay.
It should be you as the man speaking to the father. So this guy has deferred it to his mother. He's deferred his potential spouse to his mother, and she's deferred to her mother. She should defer to her father, and he shouldn't defer to his mother. He should be a man and say, I'm going to speak to her father. The only mother involved is her mother. The only mother involved is her mother, but then it's her father, it takes over. His mother should not be involved. So why is there two mothers getting involved? There should be the man with the man. You interact as a wali. This is a prophetic way, by the way. You seek the permission from her wali, her father, her brother.
Right. Okay, yeah.
The mothers aren't even in the picture.
Okay, yeah. When you put it like that from an Islamic context, I agree, you're right, it makes sense, yeah. The wali is meant to take that lead role, yeah, which makes perfect sense. But in the Asian community, and I can see logistically how it would be easier for the women to engage first. So I'm not completely against it, I can see where it would work, but there shouldn't be, My point is, look, I'm reacting on what I saw and heard on this video. Now, this is my point. This is an evaluation, yeah? There was no mention, not one of those people mentioned father. So what has happened, I'm saying, what is the back context now? Is it just the upbringing where it was logistically easy for mum to have these conversations back and forth to two mums, that father's just completely taken a backseat and got lost in the background? Or is it just a knock-on effect of the fact that the father's not on the scene, or he's not got any say or input?
Okay, I'll tell you what. Because in Indian subculture, weddings are more important than marriages. Okay?
Okay.
We know.
Yeah.
Weddings are more important than marriages. Who's better at organizing weddings, men or women? Women.
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah.
It's
parties.
Yeah. So women organize weddings. Hence the women speak. You mentioned the important word there, logistics. My question is, women should only speak right at the end when logistics are being involved. When it's the initial vetting stage, the talking stage, getting to know each other stage, it should be the man, i.e. the proposer.
The son should be talking to the girl's willy.
Exactly.
Her father.
Because then you gauge his suitability for your daughter.
Yes.
The thing is, the man's deferring to his mum, and the girl, I don't blame the girl, she's deferring to her mother. Reality, the ideal situation is she should defer to her father. He shouldn't defer to anyone. The book stops with him. He's the wali.
Yeah.
So he should not be asking his mum to speak to her mum. That's just very pathetic behavior.
That should be a secondary action after the primary action, where the son speaks to the willy of the girl.
That's it, simple as. And this is even in Victorian culture, Victorian era, where the man would go to knock on the girl's door. Can I speak to you?
Ask for a daughter's hand in marriage.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the traditional way. The traditional way. That is a traditional form of masculinity. It's a traditional man.
But the man now he's getting his mother to speak to her mother. So I can say I don't blame the girl. Like, you know, it's not her fault. It's actual man's fault. The man should say, no, I want to speak to your dad.
Okay, all right. Look, okay, doctor. Let's put it another way then. Yeah. Let me ask you this then. Yeah. A young man in his 20s. It comes back down to this, what constitutes him to say he's now a man or have that confidence to deal with these conversations?
He's not being conditioned, has he?
But how do we get to a place where in his 20s, he's like, for example, look, we're of a certain time, era, age now where we have life experience. Hence, you have a broader understanding of life, relationships, emotions, societal issues, ideologies, is what Islam really is like, and how does it apply in your life, your personal affairs, rather than how you perceived it when you were a teenager, for example. Yeah, but it's taken that time and that journey for you to get here to have this ability and understand it and be able to articulate it.
Yeah.
So how does someone who's in their 20s now, who's a young man, get to this stage where he can have this wider knowledge? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? You can't become a man by any one given action.
Yeah. It's all experiential. And I think on that note, we'll take a break and I'll answer the question after the break. Guys, welcome back. This episode is sponsored by AM Wellness, premium supplements for aesthetics, musculoskeletal pain, and weight loss. So we're talking about men's, average guy in his 20s. What kind of program is he going to have? He's, essentially the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You've heard this saying, right? Mm-hmm. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So you can only be a product of your environment unless you consciously unlearn and reset, clean the slate, reset to factory settings, and then learn new things that you should have been taught when you were young. So for a guy now who's grown up in a very matriarchal society where his mum wears the shoes, he then enters marriage on the back foot, thinking, I'm only a participant in this marriage. It's actually her and her family that are the dominant people here. Okay? I'm just a sperm donor. We don't have kids. It's her kids. So we need to change the narrative and actually put it on with a Islamic-centric lens. That lens is, you are the breadwinner. You are the shepherd of the family. You guide the family. A shepherd is not a tyrant. He's not oppressive. A shepherd is firm but fair. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That's his flock.
Yeah.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us this as well. Al-Qawwam and Al-Rajul Al-Qawwam and An-Nisa. The Rajul, the man, is the Qawwam, is the leader of the women folk in his life. He's a wali, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a shepherd is firm but fair. He's not oppressive. If he's oppressive, the flock will run away.
Yes. He has to have that authority to protect and guide the flock.
Absolutely. So he has to have that. Because women, you understand from the Islamic paradigm anyway, they have the inherent tendency to be swayed away with emotionality and with public perception. This is what Dajjal, majority of his followers will be women. You know? So we need to ensure that the next generation of men they see life from an Islamic perspective. They actually understand that Rujula is Muslim manhood, Muslim masculinity, not Bollywood masculinity, where the man is a simp and he crawls on his knees like Shah Rukh Khan and princess lives happily ever after. He doesn't chase, he attracts.
Obviously, look, I agree with you, but the problem now is this now. See, what that triggers in my mind is this. So when we have these conversations, right, I trigger it back to where we are now, yeah? So, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, the environment, conditioning, and if you can consciously undo your conditioning, that's a different matter on its own now, yeah? Now, we're in a position now where these children potentially won't have a father in their lives. They'll potentially never know their father, yeah? That's number one straight away. So his first example of manhood, father, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
As we spoke about earlier, we've talked off camera, what is his experience of what a man and a father is? When he was small, or when she was small, father was ejected out of the home just like that, out of his life, has no say. What psychological imprint does that kid have in his mind of what a man is, what a father is? Disposable. These kids are growing, and what do they say? The boys that are raised without a father, they're angry. They got emotions. They got issues. These are psychological, emotional triggers that are now built in. Subconsciously, they are damaged. Subconsciously, they've realized how disposable a man is, how disposable their father is. Then the emotional mourning that they've gone through, not having dad around. Is dad coming home tonight? Looking out the window. Remember when we were kids, right? I mean, when I was a kid, regardless of the fact that my dad was a different type of dad for his generation, you came, you did your thing, you didn't engage that much, you went to work, came home. Even then, you used to sit by the window waiting for your dad. What time's dad coming home? Is dad coming home on his motorbike or his moped? When he came in and anything, he just said, yeah, put my jacket away and got to watch the news. It was fine. But you still had that element.
Anticipation.
Imagine as a kid now, when's dad coming home? Dad was here, so he's not here anymore. Dad's not here anymore. Dad's not here anymore. And the mother is engaging in this. Her extended family are engaging in this. All the little school friends, the school teacher, they're all in on the scam, yeah? Social services, family court, they're all in on it, as we know, yeah? What damage is that kid taking? What chance has he got? Who is going to make him a man? If his father's not around, number one, or father's not allowed to be, let's put it another way, let's put it correctly. Father's been removed out of the picture, he's been ejected. Mum and her family from our community have taken up the tools and weapons of the Dajjal for him, and they've done it for him, yeah? Let's be completely straight about this, yeah? They're engaging in this fitna.
To break up families.
Yes, and
to prepare for his arrival.
Yes, they've engaged in those tactics. They do not care. When it comes to this, forget Islam, forget the kid. We don't care as long as we get back at him, yeah? That's all they're interested in, yeah? So, this child now grows up, this boy. It takes a man to raise a mother can raise a baby into a boy. It takes a man to raise a boy to a man.
Yeah.
If father is removed out the equation straight away, add to that everything we've said of what he needs to navigate as a man, and the expectation for what a man is seems to be getting higher every time I turn on every time I put YouTube on. The expectation of what a man should be, it goes higher, higher, higher. It's never ending, yeah? What chance have they got? And this is what I say to you, look, you got sons, yeah? Say your son's getting married, or the day he gets married. Would you hand on heart look at him and in your heart know that, son, more than likely this is for life? Like, what do you say now? What do you think? Yeah, it'd be good if you get 10 years out of it. I mean, what is it that you logically... I think about now when my kids grow up.
Yeah.
I logically look at them on their wedding day. Not that probably won't even be there, right? Yeah, way the family court. As if
You
it's
won't
to
be
do with it.
allowed. They're too dangerous.
They won't even know them. I'll probably drive past their wedding, won't even know it's them. Yeah. Now, could you honestly look at them and think, this is for life? That's it. Me done. Because look, the traditional view of marriage from our parents was right. Shadi Ogi, he's been married. Our job's done. One less stress. There was an element of checklist. We can chill out. Our duty on this earth to a certain degree. Our final job. We've raised him or her, got them to marry. They're now a man or a woman. It's over to them. We've done our bit. Can we honestly look at our kids and think, yeah, this is it. It's done?
No.
What's it going to look like? What's society going to look like?
They've got a 90% chance of bouncing back.
Yeah.
So the way things are going anyway, the way divorce statistics are, starkly showing the reality of Muslim marriage, where 90%, not now, but future projection, that's going to be the reality. It's a damning indictment of how we have failed the next generation. So we must instill in them core Islamic tenets and values. And you mentioned there, a father coming home, looking out, the son looking out. You got a 3-year-old son, now he's 5, right? So he was 3, looking out the window. You said the last time you saw him was the 16th of March.
Yes.
Right. So what's happened from that till now?
Right, let me pick up on that, and I got sidetracked. Right. 16th of March, 2022, various reasons I end the relationship. That evening, I'm still with my son, who was 3 years old at the time. I go back home, no one's there, so I call my mum and dad, but they came around. Anyway, I was with my son. He was holding on to me. He was on my, shoulder and whatnot. Knock on the door, 5-6 o'clock that evening. Police have arrived. 2 squad cars, a police van, 3 or 4 police officers come in to, right, we're going to talk to you alone. This and that. I've got my son with me. This is all recorded on their little dash cam or whatever it is, body cam. They had to peel him off of me. He's crying. No, I want to stay with dad. They peeled him off of me, and I said, look, go and play over there. That's the last time I saw him, when they peeled him off my shoulder. He's crying and screaming to hold on to me. That is the last time I saw my son, March the 16th, 2022. Police then read me my rights. Allegations of abuse spanning back 10 years. Allegations of, again, coercive control, as I mentioned before, could mean absolutely anything, and people need to be aware. If you disagree with your wife or your partner, especially your wife, if you're a man who disagreed with a woman 10 years ago about the color or the pillows or the paint on the wall, that's because you didn't give in, and because you had an opinion of your own. That's coercive control. Anything is coercive control. So coercive control spanning back 10 years, financial abuse, the classic usual throttling card is a very common one. I speak to a lot of fathers. The throttling card is a common one. So you've got to remember how this works. You have to present a risk to life, coercive control, financial abuse, bang. The police take me away now. I'm thinking, okay, surely, like it's all a bit of a shock. I was already in shock anyway. Police take me away. In the police car, again, it's a horrible experience. But look, police take me away. I go to the cell, thinking, okay, this will be over in a minute. Someone will come along. Some adults will step in. The sensible people will step in and say, yeah, look, it's a typical sort of family breakdown. It's no big deal. She's angry. She's made these allegations, right? So you think anyway. I'm sitting in this cell now. Overnight, I'm sitting there. You've got nothing. You ain't got
so
your
you
phone.
spent the night in a cell?
Yes, I spent a night in a cell as a criminal, right?
Cockroaches?
No, there was not. Unfortunately, it wasn't Romania. It was in Leighton, so there was no cockroaches. But it is a bit of a dive. I've got to say, man, they could have provided. I just want to say, if the police are watching, right, you could provide someone with some toothbrushes or toothpaste or a blanket or something in the cells. I don't know why.
It must be cold March time.
It's freezing. Yeah. Luckily, I took my jacket with me. So I used my jacket to huddle up and just cover up. But otherwise, it's so basic in there. What I don't understand is, yes, it's a cell. I get it. No proper running water. The toilet's in a state. It's just like they could tidy them up a little bit. I mean, for God's sake, they say Romania.
It's just bad for your mental health, right? You're spending one night and you're in a dungeon.
Not just that, but the thing is this: you're sitting there, right, on your own now. And I started thinking, okay, surely someone's going to believe me. Every minute, every second's ticking by. Surely someone's going to believe me, aren't they?
You think it's a bad dream?
Yeah, there's an element of you're already in trauma, you're already in shock. This is a long-term marriage. You got to understand. And when you've been dealing with other subjects that we've discussed, personality disorder, you're always questioning your own sanity for the last 10 years anyway, along with then this happening, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, surely someone's going to believe me. And you got to understand the psychology here. You are a brown, Asian, Muslim man, yeah? And look, don't get me wrong, you don't have to be Muslim, you can be Hindu, Sikh, Christian, whatever, yeah? But I'm trying to paint the picture here. And, you know, then add to that, you're not seen as an academic, you're seen as a builder type, yeah? Builder type. Now, I know I might look quite slim and skinny, but, you know, I do go to the gym on and off. I've trained, you know, in some martial arts and whatnot, yeah? Now, from a community perspective, you think, who's going to believe you? Forget white people believe in you or not. Your own community don't believe you. What chance you got white people believe in you? Like, hold on, he's not a monster. Yeah, but then Muslims are a bit like that. You know what I mean? You've always got that narrative in your head. So as the time went on, as these hours clocked on, I was in the cell alone from that evening, 6 o'clock till the following afternoon, 2 o'clock, right? It was quite a long time, yeah? And then you're thinking about these things. You think, who's going to believe me? Who's going to believe? Surely someone's going to believe me. And you think, at the end of it, I was thinking, hey, no one's going to believe you. You got no chance. You're brown, you're Muslim, you're a man. And add to that, you are a man in a relationship. And then within these allegations, oh yeah, especially with our Asian community as well, another allegation that seems to come out with the Muslim one specifically, which I want to put out there, he forced me to wear hijab. He tried to force me to wear niqab. You got all of this coming at you. I even know cases where this sister and the whole family used to wear niqab, right? There's one case that I remember specifically there, yeah? She told in the family court, she was saying, yeah, he forced me to wear niqab. And the brother said, no, but your family, you wore niqab before I met you. So how did I fall? It's just the madness of it all, yeah? It's a free-for-all.
Weaponizing the
Islam.
and then combining that with Islam into such a, you know, it's like Islam is beautiful, but you are poisoning your interpretation of Islam with the law, and then using that. Islam is not meant to be mixed with anything.
You've used Islam and weaponized it to support the Dajjal, as far as I'm concerned. Those women that have done this, yeah? You've put an attack on Islam. Because in the family court, they look down upon man there with a beard and a hat, got no chance, yeah? They look down upon him, of course he's backward. You can see the narrative, subconscious bias I'm talking. I'm not saying that, look, I'm not one of these people that labels everyone as a racist, but there's a subconscious bias. You're a brown man there with a beard, does look a bit backward, don't he? Do you know what I'm saying, yeah? Poor woman, like, you know, he's oppressing her. So again, you got all of these allegations coming out. You're sitting and you realise you got no chance. So luckily for me, look, come out the following day, they interview me. They ask me all these questions. I had the lawyer there from that the state provide. And I would say if you get given that lawyer, take it. He might tell you one little thing that could save you, it could save you saying something you shouldn't, basically, yeah, or putting yourself in trouble, right? Anyway, I answered their questions. Bottom line is no further action. They release me. That's what normally happens in these cases when there's no evidence. Again, there was no evidence in this case, so they released me. So I'm thinking now, okay, the following day I'm out, I've got this sigh of relief, and I thought, okay, at least I'm not in the police cell. No further action, so they've released me. Maybe things will get better. But again, still naively thinking that once things settle down, things will be okay. I suddenly realised that, you understand. So I've not seen my kids. I saw my son March 16, 2022. Last time I saw him, this period went by for 2 or 3 days. After that, I went back home. I think, she'd left with kids and all of that now, yeah? I'm thinking, okay, so when you're walking around, again, you see there's an element of guilt. And I'll talk about this so people understand this. You'll see little reminders of your children here and there. Their little clothing, where they used to sit. You got all these reminders there. You've seen them every day of their life, yeah? And you are consumed with guilt. Then you think, maybe I'm selfish. This guilt starts haunting you, and then you can see their faces. Have I let them down? You're their protector. You can understand, these are primal things. You don't even know what it is, but you know what you feel. You feel that guilt. I thought, okay, look, doesn't matter. One thing settled down. Let's just keep cool, calm, and collective. Doesn't matter about these allegations. They put me in. It doesn't matter, yeah? As a couple of weeks went by, you already, because you understand the psychology. You don't know when you're going to. You understand? I'm trying to articulate. It's difficult, right? So you don't know. You saw your kids weeks ago, say for example, yeah. You don't know where they are. You don't know when you're going to see them. You don't know what's going to happen.
Uncertainty, like I mentioned to you.
Uncertainty, yes.
Men don't like uncertainty. Men like certainty, and that's why they live in misery. Like you would have lived in this marriage with certainty. When it's uncertain, when you're going to see them, where they are, who they're with,
yes,
that's what kills men.
Yes, and you're worried for your kids. What are they going through? What are they thinking? You've got this guilt eating away at you. You're scared for your children. And then next thing you know, I'm hit with this molestation order. No, and there's another thing that happens, and it's happened now in quite a few cases.
Was it a non-mol or molestation?
It's called, the non-mol is short for non-molestation order. In America, it's called a restraining order, but in England, for some reason, they call it non-molestation order. When people hear the word molestation, it sounds a lot worse. So when you say you got non-molestation order, people start looking at you funny, yeah? Again, it's short version, we say non-mol order, yeah? So I was then hit with a non-mol order, right? When you start reading this statement of allegation, so you're thinking, okay, look, things will settle down. Literally a week later, you're hit with this. What I've learned is you got to make these allegations. You got to have a police arrest. You secure legal aid. Once you secure legal aid, the legal aid lawyers will advise. Unfortunately, there's emotional women with all of these things, because every time they advise them and they take action, they're getting money. So they're getting money. They say do a non-mol. They probably made, God knows, 4 or 5 grand on the back of that. Followed by an occupation order. You're now on this cycle where this hits you, you read those statements of allegation, you've got this gut-wrenching, horrible feeling in your stomach. And then add to that, you can't go near the home. You can't go home, was it? Yeah, that's right. You're not allowed 100 meters within your house. You're not allowed 100 meters within her or any other family member's house. All of this sort of stuff. You can't make contact with her. But then it says on the non-mol, and I want to let people know that you can make contact with her to arrange access to the children. But anyone that's ever done that, as soon as you try and make contact with her, she says, no, it's worse. She'll say, I feel threatened. She'll call the police. They will send squad cars to come and get you. I assure you, they have resources for this, and they will take you aggressively. If it's a breach of non-mol, police will come and take you aggressively if necessary. They will not do anything. And you got to understand, you don't have to have done anything. You'll still follow your order saying, I'm trying to make contact to see my kids. If she just calls the police, yeah, he called me, he breached order, I feel threatened, that's it. I know a guy who messages saying, do you mind if I have the kids this weekend instead of next weekend? He spent a week in prison. I know another guy who accidentally saw his missus in a superstore by chance, he had breaches non-mol. He walked into the superstore, saw her in one of the yards, so he left. Police arranged a blockade further. This was in Leicester. Police arranged a roadblock further up the road. When they saw him, they dragged him out of the car, smashed his head on the curb, smashed his jaw and teeth in, took him in. They had 6 squad cars. The road blockade for this. They have resources for this because of the laws they have in place around women and girls being victims, and that narrative. Hence, resources are thrown at this, to bring the stats down. So if you call her, guess what? Even if it's legit, you'll get locked away. Hence, alhamdulillah, luckily I didn't do anything. I didn't try and make contact or anything. But again, gut-wrenching feeling. You're reading through these allegations. You think, my God, man, what's going on here? But surely no one believes this, right? Yeah. Then followed a week later, followed by an occupation order. But now, as logistically, your father, 90% of men are homeless. You could still be paying all the bills and mortgage, still expected to work. You're now homeless. And you understand this psychological, emotional pressure is building during this period. Then around the same time, you get a letter from Child Maintenance Services. Your PAYE, we've tallied up what you earn. You need to call us immediately. The only organisation that base a calculation on child maintenance pre-tax.
Yeah, gross.
Oh, gross, yeah. When
It's
you call
CMS.
them, and they do not care. They are a business. They do not care about you, her, or your kids. They are a business. So then you've got them hitting you financially. So you've been made homeless. You can't see your kids, your own children that you can never imagine or envisage not seeing them. You can't see them. You're emotionally in turmoil. You don't know where you've got nowhere to live. You potentially are on the streets, or you're living out of your van or your car. This is exactly how it is. This is exactly what happened to me. But it says on the non-mol, and the non-mol is done ex parte, so you had no say in it. It just happened to protect the victim effectively. So normally you have a date to say you can go back 2 weeks later to challenge it. Mine for some reason was 2 months. I'm thinking, well, where do I go for 2 months? And it says you can't go 100 meters within your house. The doctor, They're my brother's house, relatives, local mosque, all within 100 meters. You can't go nowhere there. So you're ejected out of there. I was ejected out of there, right? Yeah. So I'm driving around in my van, trying to make sense of this. You're trying to hold it together. You've got constant anxiety of the situation. You've got these court documents and letters coming in. You've got child maintenance haunting you, trying to take money out your account, and the powers they have, that's scaring you. You're paying for all the bills. You're trying to hold it together. You're still expected to hold it together. You've got people in your ear giving you advice. Everyone you bump into, you've got some horror story or other. It is a hard.
It's overwhelming.
It is difficult, man. I'll tell you, it is a very difficult period. This could go on, and unfortunately, in my case, my hearings just got delayed, and it's just gone on for 2 years. This has gone on since March 16, 2022. I'm still in the same boat now as I was then. And in my situation, before the non-mol was issued, again, as I said to you about these simps in the community, you've got these simp imams we talked about in that locked-in event.
They prop up the civil system.
Yes.
They prop up women's rights with no mention of women's responsibilities to uphold family and kinship ties.
Well, exactly. So let's just check this now. So my ex, right, one of her relatives, they work on this so-called Islamic TV channel, right? I watched on CCTV. So I arranged with the police for her to come and pick up some belongings, right? They said, she wants to come pick up some belongings before the non-mol was issued. All these brothers from the channel turn up in a van, and police stood there and watched, and they bloody emptied the whole house. I watched on CCTV them trawling through my house, in my garden, my shed, taking gear out your house. You know, watch people in your house taking gear out, your children's stuff, your appliances, all of this. They stripped the house out. And my point is, these guys, not one of them asked a question. Should we walk, as Muslims, should we not ask for facts and figures and receipts and find out if this is properly arranged? But again, when it's a woman crying and it's from your own family, who cares, bro?
These men become very feminine and emotional. Yes. They don't use facts and logic when they come to execute their decisions. It's very emotional. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not transgress, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, about speaking truth, do not be afraid to speak truth, even against your own relatives.
Yes, but this is my point. As we said, when it comes to your personal affairs, the one thing I have noticed, a consistent pattern in our communities, when it comes to personal affairs, the whole aspect of etiquette, Islam, manners, even common sense go out the window. Yeah. Now these guys, like I said, I've released a video on YouTube with a little bit of footage of these people, who they are and what they did. But my point is, I witnessed people don't understand how violating it is watching people go through your property.
Yeah.
And to say, well, I made a mistake, it's not good enough, number one. So I witnessed that. That was a violating feeling on top of everything else. So this went on now for 6 months. Again, I sort of lived out of my van. I slept on sofas, friends and families. I slept at my mum's house here and there. Predominantly now I spend more time there now when I can. But daytime, I just used to drive around in the van. So sorry, eventually I was still working up until 2 or 3, 4 weeks in. But because of the sort of job I had, the responsibility, I was in charge of a data center, a head engineer of a data center. You got to have your wits about you. You can't be, and because I work with electrics, high voltage switching, UPS, power and all this sort of stuff here. You make one mistake because you're not all there, you could wipe out the whole room. Like the whole room could go up. You're going to wipe out, not just you, but you're going to kill anyone working with you. So I had to give up work, right? And even if you're working with power tools, your head's not all there, bro. You could injure yourself or injure someone else. And then when you're trying to hold all of this together, CMS are taking money off you. I think, well, what's the point? Like, who cares? Why do I need to be work? Who cares about work? So I just packed work in. And the doctor said it's not safe for you to be working ultimately. Yeah. And you wake up every day. It's a cycle every day. You go through that morning. You hit that fog. You think it's going to be okay. 1 minute, next minute you think, no, it's not. Next minute you think, well, maybe if it all just ends. I mean, look, those 6-8 months
were the toughest.
To a year, I would say, are very difficult. You visualize your children's face. Then you think of ending it. Then you think, yeah, but what about my kids? Who's going to look out for them? What chance have they got? If I go, it's only me that suffers and my kids ultimately, and my loved ones. You go through these cycles of emotion. You're so in tune with your own emotions as well that you've got this heightened sense of awareness.
Yeah.
Even when people are talking to you now, when you're going through this, you can see and hear a lot more. You can sense the emotion in their voice, how genuine they are, how genuine they're not. I noticed that subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
So even when someone's talking to you, at times like you're going through all of this, you know, they know, they've heard about it, and then they go off about they want you to go and do a job for them. And I used to think, I'm trying to figure out if I want to stay alive or not, and all you care about is me. See if I can, like, yeah, sorry about what's happened, mate. Can you get this done for me? Like, and these are friends and family. You think,
yeah.
like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
is this all you got to worry about? You can sense all of these things which you couldn't see before. But this went on for over 6 months, and at night, I mean, you can't sleep as well. So you remember, you don't sleep. It's a very difficult time, right? Then add to that, what happened was at night time, I remember categorically, I used to lay there, you're in pain, you're in physical pain, your chest is hurting, your heart is hurting, you got anxiety. I used to think, maybe if I go sleep now, I won't wake up. And then you think, if I don't wake up, not that big a deal, like, I'll be okay with that. And we're not even talking from a mental health level or something erratic. I'm saying that you think about it consciously, a logical decision to say, you know what, been around this long, I've given life a good crack, I've done the best I can. Yeah. This ain't all it's cracked up to be. And you've got this whole system and machine built to destroy you, to dismantle you in every way possible. Do I really want to be here? Then you can, because of your heightened self-awareness, you evaluate all your other relationships with everyone that you have. Where are you? And you think, how good is it really?
Yeah, exactly. Is it really worth it? And so that took you till the end of 2022, right? When did you start Disqualified Dads?
Right. I'll tell you how Disqualified Dads started. So I was going through this emotional turmoil daily, right? Leading up to November last year, November 2022. And a couple of weeks before that, I was occasionally going to the park for a walk. I used to just go in the morning for a walk, because you understand, I didn't go anywhere, I didn't see anyone. I used to sometimes get a coffee as well, drive around on my own. Sometimes one day I parked up, just sat there, just looking into the street on the drive, like I was sitting in the van, just parked up, looking down the street for 8 hours. So if you walk past 8 hours, I was just sitting there. There was times I just parked up somewhere in the park, literally, and just fell asleep on the drive. Times you're driving on the motorway and you think, you know, one little turn that way, it's an accident, isn't it? It's not self-deletion, it's an accident. You know, you're going through these cycles and this trauma. So then one day I was in the park going for a walk. As I was walking, and again, I just want to point out the other factor as well. A lot of fathers and a lot of men hide away when this happens. They don't want to talk to no one, they don't want to speak to no one. Because there's an element of humiliation, and this is what I was talking to the other guest earlier. And this is the only thing I can put it down to. As a man, you know, we talk about demasculation, this and that, but if you don't, you can't articulate these things at the time. But you've lost contact with your kids, you've been made homeless, the system's taken you out, they've chewed you up, spat you out. You know, your ex-in-laws are spreading rumors about you, you're a monster in the community, you know, you've got this order on you, you ain't got a job, you know, where are you in life? Middle age, this happens to you, where are you in life? You evaluate your whole life and think, is this what it's come to? Yeah. And the fact that you can't do absolutely nothing for yourself, but for your children, you can't affect and do absolutely anything to go and see your children, to help your children, to comfort them, is humiliating as a man. Remember, what did we say? You're the Rajal, you're for the family, yeah? You are the protector, you are the shepherd of the family, yeah? Subconsciously, if you cannot even see them, you can't protect them, you've got nothing. You've got as far as the law and doing something legally, you have absolutely nothing you can do to change your situation, yeah? How humiliating and demasculating is that? This is how the other way that the Matrix controls people is. This is what you call the Matrix. This is how they control us now. Number one, right? This is exactly how they control. They demasculate you, and that humiliating factor. That's why no fathers come out. They don't want to talk about it. They hide away. They don't want to see no one. They don't want to speak to them. They don't care. They don't want no one's sympathy. And you don't go around walking with your hand out saying you need help. That's embarrassing all on its own, yeah. So that humiliating factor, you've been humiliated and destroyed. And at night when I used to go sleep, I remember this vividly. You can't sleep, and occasionally after sleeping for about an hour, half an hour, 1 hour, you just randomly just wake up middle of the night with these cold shivers. dreaming of your kids.
Flashbacks.
I used to lay there and I used to pray. I prayed. I said, Allah, please do not forsake me. Allah, do not forsake me. I used to wake up in the middle of the night when you're on your own. There's no one can help you. Ya Allah, please do not forsake me. Regularly, it used to happen every night, and you think, maybe I'll just wake up in the morning, but in the middle of the night, and then you just lay there. It's just these cycles. You constantly go through this roller coaster, and it's horrible. So then one day, it was in the park. I started jogging. I was walking. And I started jogging. As I started jogging, I was thinking about my kids, my situation, this humiliation. What do you do? How do you, where do you go? And when I finished jogging, I realized I did 20. I am out of shape, out of condition. I'm not my strongest self here. Off the bat, 20 laps I did. Off the bat. And I sat down and I thought, how long have I been jogging? And I realized I felt like nothing. And I was thinking about my kids, and I felt that humiliation, that desperation.
You changed it into positive.
I felt in my heart, and I thought for a second there, because you were, up until that point, you were a victim. You were dismantled by the system. You've been labelled a monster. There's people saying all of this and that about you. People are robbing your house. You visualize people going in and out your house. You can't affect any change. You can't see your kids. This turned into rage and anger, the humiliation, this anxiety, the pain, the turmoil, the mourning, the loss of your children, seeing their little innocent faces. I thought, I ain't no mug. I didn't get here by being a mug. I didn't survive this many years. And I realized, even up until that point, I have fought many, many battles in my life, in many, many arenas, in many, many scenarios, and some of them in my own head. And I thought, if I put my mind to other things in life and I've achieved anything else that I wanted to achieve, I have achieved. I thought, I ain't no mug. If I put my mind to this, I can achieve this as well. And that humiliation, that frustration, that trauma turned into rage and anger. And then I thought, you know what? I'm not humiliated. I do not care. These are my children. These children have no one sticking up for them. No one cares about them. No one really is worried about them. As their dad, it doesn't matter what the world thinks of me. It doesn't matter who thinks I'm a monster. It doesn't matter whatever I do. I humiliate myself even more. I do not care, because for my children, I will do even more. And then I said to myself, look at all the things I've done. I've done a lot of physical stuff in my life, mental stuff. I've worked shift. I've earned money. I've done things where other men people around me have failed. They couldn't compete with me. And I thought, listen, I am that guy. I've got all the skills and tools to do whatever I need to. Work, I don't need a job. It doesn't matter. I've worked my whole life. It's irrelevant. That can be compartmentalized. I'll deal with that another date. Stop working. November 21st, I think, 2022, I started Instagram. I got Instagram. Like I said, I've never had a Facebook account. I've never been on social media. I'm a private sort of person. I've never been into any of these things. Yeah, different generation. Picked up my phone and I thought, right, I need to get onto social media. November 21st, started Disqualified Dads on Instagram. And started on there, one little post, recorded myself in the van, little van vlogs, just to talk about all of this, and that's where it started.
Wow. So it's been literally just over a year.
Just over a year now, and from there I've started all the podcasting, been onto podcasts, went onto, as you know, Just Pearly Things, went onto Islam channel with Brother Adil, been on a few platforms now. I've connected with a lot of people, I've come up with ideas and stuff like that. But that anger, rage, frustration, and the realization of the society we're living in, everything we've discussed, all of this suddenly became apparent. And this is what I'm saying. Before March the 16th, I knew what I knew as far as personality disorders. I couldn't articulate these things, but I recognized these things, thinking this is a tricky situation, right? If you find yourself in, yeah. But once March the 16th happened, family court, lost contact with kids, homeless, jobless. For someone who's worked since they were 24 years, I've been working straight. I've never had a day off. I almost haven't had a day off in 24 years. To end up like this. Only country in the world you can own a house and be homeless. How? How is it that this system, I thought, is built to dismantle? It is legitimately built to dismantle you. Because this society has created this. This is the society that's created this. The feminists have all now been
Empowered.
promoted to positions of power. So the movements, I think, officially started in 1920s. They worked themselves into positions of power, and they know their weaknesses, gender weaknesses. So man, woman, they know them. So systematically, they have negated all of the laws and positions to ensure they are kept out of potential harm's way from men. And that's what you see playing out in the family court, family law. Family law is different from criminal law. And this is what I'm saying. I realize that, look, when your back's cornered, you're in the trenches, your job is to survive. So when I entered all of this, it got to that point, October, November, I got to do something. I'm in the trenches, and when you're in the trenches, right, it's not a biggie. Like I said, job aside, this aside, me missing the kids aside, me being angry and want to deal with these people that robbed my house, all of these things aside, we need to sit back, be patient, and work this out systematically. So I thought, if I break at any point now, we'll never see the end, we'll never succeed. You're in the trenches, don't worry about tomorrow. Deal with today. Just survive today.
Yeah. One day at a time, one foot in front of the other.
Yes.
That's what I tell all my clients. One foot in front of the other.
Exactly. Because when you look at the mountain you got to climb, listen, psychologically it plays on your mind. I just need to achieve this for today. So then with this sixth sense that I've got, I can sense what people are thinking, doing, how they're operating. Secondly, you got to understand, when you've lost your kids, when someone else then comes with me with a sob story, like unless you're homeless, unless you've lost your kids, unless you've got serious problems yet, it's just a sob story. Not interested. Any elements I had before, maybe I was too much of an empath before you get sucked into other people's sob story. Help him out, bro. Listen, forget everyone else. Just deal with yourself. And add to that, I hardened up a little bit in how I conducted myself now. Yeah, so you ain't got time for crap. You need to focus on what you need to do. So when you're in the trenches, you survive. And when you can command this sort of energy, out of shape, out of condition, 20 laps off the bat.
Full mindset, innit?
Yeah, and then following on from that, I slowly joined a nearby gym. I started training 6 days a week straight. Just off the bat, started training 6 days a week. Went for 30 days at this gym, and then for some reason, 9 Mile, the whole gym just shut down, right? Yeah. I don't know what it was. I said, well, you just shut down for
because of you. Too
yeah.
dangerous.
I'll flip it. So the whole gym just shut down. So then I started training. I just started running again on the streets. Then I started training with the concrete blocks and bricks. And
I've seen that
press
on
ups
your
the
Instagram.
streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought my point is when you're
No excuses.
Yeah, so when you're in the trenches, look, you adapt, you overcome.
Yeah.
My point is though, I deal with the situation. You're gonna hit a roadblock. If you adapt, re-divert. My point, everything's a mindset. If you get to a point and say, oh, well, we can't go on. Let's say something happened now. Oh, we can't do this podcast. We can't go on. If we said, let's hold on. Let's see what the issue is. Let's see if we can fix it.
Logically,
yes.
come to a solution.
But you got to be patient, calm and collected. Yeah. And all that energy and strength gives me relentless fuel, is relentless firepower. I can go from 0 to 60 any minute, any given second.
Yeah. Yes.
That rage, that anger, that frustration, that turmoil. Look, can you think about this? Like I asked this sister on Instagram, yeah? They said, oh, one of your posts was a bit aggressive, this is not your style. I went, listen, can you imagine not seeing your child for a week? I've not seen, spoken to, not seen a photograph, nothing for over nearly 2 years. There's fathers that haven't seen their kids for 5 years, 8 years. Do they have any, my point, this is accepted. This is an okay
it's
position.
The norm
Why?
Now. Yeah.
How is it that we've allowed this to happen? Yeah. And I thought, it doesn't matter where the movement is. Father movement's divided. It doesn't matter what anyone else does or doesn't do. I know what I'm going to do. And the other thing is this, my biggest source of power as well is I've put my faith in Allah. Because look, there's nothing we can do here. When you know you're totally helpless, you have to put your hands out and you have to ask Allah. He can make anything happen. Ask the higher power. So I made dua to Allah every day. Guide me. Show me the way. Show me the next steps. What do I do? Bro, I didn't even have a Facebook account. So I thought, listen, I'm an engineer, I'm an electrician, I have studied. So when I say I work on tools, I do have some idea of things, yeah? I can work things out. So then systematically, I've put my focus to this, bam, 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 working things out systematically, and they're working, the strategy's working, the podcasts are coming off, the orange suit's coming off, the message is getting out there. Yeah. Regardless of what someone else does or doesn't do, I can do it, I am that guy, and I need to be that guy for my kids, for your kids, all these kids out there because they got no one's addressing it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have no fear of failure. I do not care. The stakes for me are much higher. The stakes for me are my children. They are much higher. And when the stakes are that high, nothing can stop you. I have no basic primal limitations that I may have had before. They don't exist for me.
Yeah, no, that's very powerful because your children become your transcendental why. They transcend everything. They become your why. They become the light at the end of the tunnel. And you gave me the t-shirt. Couldn't wear it today. I'm cold. But with
I've got you another one, by the way. I've got you another t-shirt as
good.
well.
I like that. With, you know, picture of your daughters, right?
Yes.
You know, that's your why. And that now, the pictures of your daughters, it's been seen by thousands of people. Thousands, okay? So you transmuted that energy into something positive. And this is what the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill talks about. Transmuting energy from one form to another, negative into positive. So minus 20 into plus 20. That's what he did. So he started off vlogging in the van. I saw the early videos on TikTok as well. So essentially, it became like a video journey for you, video diary.
Yeah.
What's your purpose now with Disqualified Dads?
See, originally just started, so go back to the question, It started off with these little videos to try and get the message out there, and the classic, it's your daughter's birthday, so make a video so there's some record out there in the metaverse forever. By some miracle, maybe she sees it one day. It started off like that. Then I started looking at the movement itself. Then I started looking at how are these laws allowed to be in place? The bias in the system, the shock in the bias that is in the system, that was playing on my mind. So then I started addressing this, and then I thought we need to prevent this from happening. Then I found out about the suicide rates, and I thought, well, do we do something now or do we wait till someone dies? So the overall issue, and then at the same time, like I said, like we've discussed on other podcasts, right, that all the red pill stuff, I started studying, looking at someone randomly said, oh, check this out, what is this, right? Again, I listened to all of that and I thought, okay, there's a lot of information and knowledge here. I wouldn't have fully understood this before. I was caught up in the matrix, like unfortunately most people are. But then I thought this education needs to get out there. People need to know, because you cannot be left in this position. Look, people don't realize out there that these young men, that you could be taken out of your life just like that and disqualified just like that
overnight,
because you're a man in a relationship. They can drag you out your home. They can make you homeless, jobless, ruin your career, and get you. You understand, bro? I was praying to die in my sleep. Now, when you're that lonely, when you're in that place alone, I thought, how many other people are in that place? Then I thought, I've got sons, I've got a nephew, 12 years old, another 5, 6, 7 years, he gets married. I look at him and I think, will he have the resilience just to hold on and survive? What chance have they got? If these laws are allowed to carry on and continue, and if our community fully engage in this, they don't talk about this, they don't bring it out, someone's got to do it. So I thought, I'm going to do it. I have to get the information out there, educate these youngsters. And if we can change our community first, maybe then it can spread to other communities. If we can put the information so they know they can best protect themselves. That's why I'm doing this, to get that knowledge out there so other men, other boys, my sons, your sons, my nephews, my sister's kids, all the men of this community and all communities, they don't end up in a situation where they think, you know what, I want to check out. Is it worth carrying on? Because they have no idea of the brutality. When you're at home with the kids, good marriage, bad marriage, this perception of what will happen after and how bad it is, you can't fully envisage it.
Until you're in it.
Until you're in it, then you see the true devastation. So I thought, I need to expose this fully for what it is.
Yeah. And you're doing a great job. Like I say, your message is getting out there, and it's certainly being heard. It's resonating with a lot of people. You mentioned off air as well, coaching, qualification. So this would be my last question for you before we wrap up. What's next for Disqualified Dads?
Disqualified Dads, I'm already speaking to a lot of fathers, mentoring a lot of fathers, so I'm going to officially properly go, I'm trying to get qualified, but I'm going to just call it for what it is, life coaching. I think I can do that. That is me. I can motivate others. I can help others. In life, generally, I have life experience. So I'm going to be life coaching. I'm going to hopefully be at times, maybe we can do a duo, be doing seminars on stage, coaching people, coaching men, coaching fathers, talking about this in the community, getting the message out there. And that's where Disqualified Dads headed, is going to be a global movement. As far as I'm concerned, it's going to be aware globally. There's going to be a time I'll be traveling to different countries. We'll be on stage talking about this stuff. That's where it's going to be. And I'll put this out there. I may not know my kids, I may not know my children, but I'm going to make sure with every last breath that I have, every ounce of blood and breath that I have, they will know me. I may not know them, but they will know me, whatever happens. They will know who their father was.
That's a wonderful, strong why. So it's, actually them knowing you, because it's at the moment it's very one-sided. You can't know them. You don't know what they're doing at school, their milestones, but they will know you, and they will know their father. Was a soldier in the trenches, went through the battles of life, didn't give up, but instead used that hurt and used that injustice to positively impact other people and change lives. And you're doing a great job. How can people find you?
I'm on YouTube, Disqualified_Dads on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I just wanted to say, can I do a little plug for
Of course,
YouTube? Yeah. Please subscribe to me on YouTube. The channel's growing, and as the channel grows, YouTube will push it out further, and it is getting out there. There are more people reaching out to me now, so just please subscribe, like, share those videos. And if you've got any problems, you want to talk about breakdown, relationship, coaching, anything, drop me an email, disqualified.dads@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Farook, it's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, Doctor.
Thank you.
Always. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.